So today we're looking at personality adjectives. This is an advanced vocabulary lesson. Thanks very much for joining me on English with Archie, and nice to meet you. My name is Archie, or if you've been here before, nice to see you again. Thanks very much for coming back. So let's get started with our lesson today. So today you're going to learn how to describe your friends, your family, characters in books or in films. What words can we use to describe the different qualities of their personality? Well, here are lots of words that we can use. Now, the first way we can break up or divide these words is to say whether they are positive or they are negative. So let's take an example. Dishonest. Dishonest. So if someone is dishonest, then they tell lies. They don't always tell the truth. So we could say this is a negative personality trait, a negative personality adjective. But if we take the adjective loyal, loyal, this is someone who always supports their friends or always supports their family. They would never betray them. They would always be there for them. So this is a positive adjective. Now let's make them all negative or positive. So now we're going to look at some famous characters, and we can decide on some personality adjectives to describe those characters. I just wanted to add one more thing. So I've put all the adjectives as positive or negative, and for most personality adjectives this is true. However, some of them can be positive and can be negative. For example, quiet or eccentric, they could also be positive. It really depends on the context and the opinion of the person speaking. And also laid back and easygoing, they aren't always positive. They can also be negative, depending on the opinion of the person speaking. Okay? So here's our first character, Harry Potter. So here also are a list of adjectives we could use to describe Harry Potter's personality. And you can see there are lots of positive adjectives and just a couple negative ones, because he's on the good side, so of course his personality is generally good. Now, I'll give you a sentence and you decide which personality adjective this sentence describes. So we have, he always supports his friends. He always supports his friends. So what adjective does this describe? This shows that he's loyal. He's loyal. We could also use the word faithful as well. He's faithful to his friends. Though usually faithful is used in romantic contexts. If you're faithful to your partner, it means you don't cheat on them. So here, loyal is the best word, but we could also use faithful too. And next sentence, he rarely thinks before he acts. So this would be impulsive. He is an impulsive person. The other word we could use to describe this is rash. He makes rash decisions. Though rash is definitely negative, whereas impulsive is mostly negative, but it can also be positive. The word that we can use to describe the same thing, but in a very positive way, is spontaneous. When someone just does lots of fun things and they don't let themselves be held back by worry or by thought, they just go for it and do everything they can in the moment. They are spontaneous. Now the other way we could describe Harry is, we could say, he always speaks kindly to other people, and he always says please and he always says thank you. So how could we describe him? He is polite. He's a polite person. Now if someone doesn't say please and thank you, or if someone doesn't speak kindly to other people, then we can say they are rude. They are rude. We could also say, while Harry is confident, he is very happy speaking with other people and he doesn't get nervous. Maybe His friend, Neville, is quite shy. He gets nervous speaking to people, especially people he doesn't know. Now, let's look at our next character. So here we have Wally from the Where's Wally books. Now, I don't know if you know this, but when I was a kid anyway, these books were really popular and they didn't have any words in, just very large pictures with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of little people or little characters in, and you had to find Wally, so it was Where's Wally? Now Wally didn't speak or anything, it was just a picture, an illustration. But I've come up with some ideas about maybe what his personality is like, so here are some adjectives to describe him. So we've got pleasant, friendly, quiet, untalkative, open-minded, relaxed, calm, shy. So different words we could use maybe to describe Wally's personality. Now, here's a sentence and you tell me which quality does it describe. He's always got a big smile on his face. So we could say he's pleasant, or we could say he's friendly, Now about Wally, we could also say he doesn't say much, so he often gets lost in the crowd. So here we could say he's untalkative. We could say he's quiet. These two words literally mean he doesn't talk much. Now, if he's nervous with other people, then we could say he's shy. He's shy. Now, the other thing we could say about Wally is that we always see him hanging out with a variety of different people, all sorts of people from all sorts of places, and he always seems happy. He doesn't seem to judge other people. So we could say he is open-minded. This means he doesn't judge people who are different to him. Let's look at our next character. So, Wednesday Addams. Now, I don't know if you know the Addams family, but Wednesday is the daughter, the girl in that family. And the family are all people that are they're either undead or they're interested in the undead, and they live in a creepy old house, a sort of mansion or castle, and it's very dark, everything's black, and there are monsters and things that live in the house. So they are the Addams family. Now, Wednesday Addams, the daughter, what adjectives could we use to describe her personality? So here are some adjectives to describe Wednesday Addams. Now, which adjective am I describing with this sentence? She's always having fun with her brothers. So we could say she's playful or she's fun-loving. Playful literally means she likes to play. So we really usually use this for children, usually, because it really means that someone likes to play with toys or play games if someone is playful. It can also mean that someone likes to tell jokes, so that can be playful too. Now, the other word is fun-loving. So fun-loving, someone who just likes to have fun, who's a happy person. Probably Wednesday Addams isn't a happy person, but she does like to have fun, so... The next one is, she often talks about death. She talks about death a lot, okay? Well, that would make her a morbid or macabre person. That's a lovely adjective. Macabre. It's not something we use very often, and it's hopefully you don't get described as macabre as a person or morbid, but we can use it definitely to talk about this character in this book. Often we might use these words instead of talking about someone's personality, talking about a subject or a topic. Well, this is a very morbid topic of conversation. Now, I don't know if I think this about Wednesday and her character, but I wanted to include this word, so I've put this in. So you can decide whether you think this is true or whether you think it's not true. So I've said, she's not very confident and she thinks other people don't like her. So what would this make her? This would make her insecure. Insecure. That means she's not secure in her belief of herself. Okay? So let's have a look at our next character. Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean. So, Johnny Depp playing the fantastic Jack Sparrow, the well-loved character. Now, what adjectives can we use to describe his character? We could say he's eccentric or odd, he's deceitful, he's dishonest, he can be a bit arrogant, he's confident, he's impulsive, he's rash, unreliable, brave, and quite relaxed. So what adjective do I describe with this sentence? He's always either half drunk, singing, or behaving strangely. So we could say he's eccentric, or he's odd. These are words to say that he is strange. The way he behaves is strange. Now, eccentric we can use to describe someone's behaviour, but we can also use it to describe maybe the way someone dresses. If they dress themselves in a strange way, maybe they wear a big bow tie, or they have a big curly moustache, okay? That might be a little eccentric. But here, in Jack Sparrow's case, it's more his behaviour is a little odd sometimes. Now, the next sentence. He told me he'd share the money with me, and then he ran away with the money. So we can say he's deceitful, or we can say he's dishonest. These really mean the same thing. He's telling people lies. He told me a lie, and he ran away with my money. He's very dishonest. He's deceitful. Something we could maybe say about Jack Sparrow is, he always says he's the best pirate in the land, and he thinks everyone else is below him. He thinks he's better than everyone else. So here we could say, he's arrogant. He's arrogant, okay? The other thing we could say about Jack is he believes in himself, and he's not afraid of new situations or new people. So he's confident. He's very confident. Now our next character is Homer. Homer Simpson. So here are all the adjectives we could use to describe Homer Simpson. Now let's have a sentence about Homer. I spilt some beer on the sofa and he said it wasn't a problem. So we could say he's easygoing or he's laid back. He's very relaxed. He doesn't really mind if there's a problem or if something happens. He says, it's fine, don't worry about it. He's easygoing. We could also say, he just sits around watching TV all day and he doesn't want to do anything else. So we could say he's lazy. He's idle. Or really strong, he's bone idle. He's bone idle. That means he doesn't do a thing. He's very, very lazy. We could also say, whenever I ask him to do something, he never does it. He says he'll do it, and he never does it. So, he's unreliable. He's unreliable. We can't rely on him. He's unreliable. So, you should ask someone else, because he might not do it. Now let's have our next character. So this is our last character, Squidward. Squidward from SpongeBob SquarePants. So these are the adjectives we could use to describe Squidward. So let's have a sentence. He works from morning to night every day. So we could say he's hard-working. He's hard-working, which means he works hard. Or we could say he's diligent, which is like the same thing really, but it's a bit more focused on he's very careful, he's very detailed about everything he does. So, what else can we say about Squidward? I wanted his help. I asked him if he could help me lift a box. He said he'd finished work and he was leaving, and he didn't care, it was my problem. I couldn't believe it. So we could say he's selfish. He's selfish. We could also say he's rude. He's rude because it wasn't very polite the way he spoke. We could also say he's self-centered. So selfish and self-centered are very similar. Self-centered is someone who only thinks about themselves. Selfish is someone who doesn't think about other people. Okay? So they're pretty much the same thing. And what else can we say about Squidward? We can say he doesn't share any of his money. Therefore, he's tight. He's tight. Okay? He doesn't ever give any money to other people. He would never buy you a drink or a burger. He's very, very tight. He would never buy you a gift. Whereas SpongeBob is always very happy to buy things for others and share his money. He's very generous. So those are all of our characters today. Now, if you agree with my assessments of their personality and the personality adjectives that I used, then let me know. Or if you disagree, then let me know. Now, for a homework, I want you to think about someone you know in your lives or a character and use 3 of the adjectives that I've used in this video to describe that person or that character. And you can write your sentences in the comments below. I really look forward to seeing your sentences and what person or character you've chosen. So thanks very much for joining me. I hope you're having a lovely evening, morning, afternoon. Remember, if you want to subscribe, then click the subscribe button and also the notifications button. And then you will get notifications whenever I release a new video. And also I've got Instagram and TikTok. So you can find me on there too, English with Archie. So thanks very much, and I will see you soon. Have a good day. Bye!